And with that being said, I'd like to welcome everyone to our first ever board meeting for the American Center for Investigative Cardiology, or ACIC. It's a pleasure to have you all here to celebrate our first ever event. This is the first meeting, the first event, basically the first everything for ACIC, and we wanted to share it all with our community. And my name is Gloria O'Kay. I've been working closely with Dr. O'Kay as the project manager, and the more I've worked on building this project, the more I've become passionate with the project, as well as Dr. O'Kay himself. So hopefully you share in my inspiration as the meeting progresses. Now I'd like to introduce you to the founder of ACIC, the man who launched the development of this organization. Dr. O'Kay is a board-certified cardiologist and a cardiovascular scientist. He received his medical degree from the National Institute of Benin and his doctorate from Howard University. He has been practicing cardiology for the last 20 years in Europe and here in the US. Dr. O'Kay has always been very ambitious and was never known to settle for anything regular or mediocre. His ambition has led him to start his own successful medical practice here in downtown Silver Spring. And now it has led him to develop this innovative nonprofit think tank. His philosophy is, if I want to do anything, I will do it well. His hobbies include reading and playing his saxophone. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. O'Kay.
So I want to go ahead and introduce this project. So we know that heart disease has always been a problem, a major problem. Most of the time we say that it's a problem in Western countries because of coronary artery disease and all these things. But it's not just in Western countries, also in some developing countries, heart disease is a major problem, okay? They can present as hypertensive heart disease, and most of the time in developing countries, it's not known. They know that they have a problem when it's too late, when they have heart attack, or when they're in heart failure because of valvular heart disease, or they have a stroke. So heart disease is always a problem, despite major breakthroughs. Okay, we know we had, when you compare to 10 years, 20 years ago, there have been a lot of discovery, a lot of improvement in treatment of cardiovascular disease, but it still remains a problem. Even though sometimes it's forgotten, and we think about those infectious diseases that come in spike. We talk about Ebola, and everybody talk about Ebola. Ebola will come and go. HIV will come, and people will find medication, will find treatment, and it's not a problem anymore. But heart disease is always there, and it's constant everywhere. So there is a problem that we still need to address. And when you look at those the population, whether it's here or overseas, there is a still need of education of the population, need of research here in minority population. We have a lot of research in all the population, but minority population, there's still a problem. And even in other populations, for example, overseas, there's no research. There's no information. We know when we talk about multicentric research, Dr. Singh can attest to that. I've never heard any multicentric research involving some developing countries, like in Africa, or Middle East, or even Eastern Europe. Multicentric research involves multi-center here and some center in Europe, Western Europe. I think I'm correct. So there is still the need of research in developing country, and we think we can contribute to that. And we see that there are some problems in the minority population here in terms of education and research focus on those populations. Can you give me the next? So when you look at the research that are done, you see that the majority of those research done here are in universities, done by academics. Or if they are not done in university, they are done in some institutions such as NIH, which are multi-think tanks that are owned by or run by the government. So we think that there is a need for an independent, freestanding think tank that will perform research in the cardiovascular area. And we have searched to see if there is anything like that, and we found nothing except one organization, that is the Center for Cardiovascular Research in New York, which is a well-funded organization, and they are a think tank for cardiovascular research. So there is still room for such organization, and that's where we come into place, and we decided to start this organization, which is the American Center for Investigative Cardiology, which will promote research and contribute to the dialogue, okay, and see what we can, if we can fill the gap, okay. Give me the next. So this is our mission: promote research in cardiovascular disease in the United States and developing countries, in addition to promoting scientific exchanges and international scholarly activities between scientists in the United States and the developing countries. So we have a dual focus, or two-pronged focus: promoting research in this country in an area where there is not enough information. I will say we focus on maybe on the minority population at this time, but we do not want to limit our scope, and also promoting some collaboration with some scientists overseas, and allow them to have some insight in the way we think and we do research here. Next. So this is our objectives: foster scientific cooperation among foreign and US scientists, develop research projects in cardiovascular disease, mentoring young cardiovascular scientists in their career, expose US scientists to the thinking of non-US scientists, and expose cardiovascular scientists and clinicians to the way we think in America, so the way American scientists think. Okay, next. So we have different activities that we want to initiate to achieve our goal, and we think we will organize some seminars, some educational seminars, some research seminars on a regular basis. We'll sponsor some lecturers, some conferences. We can have some guest speaker, and we will contribute in the teaching of scientists or cardiologists or even physicians who are interested in expanding their knowledge in cardiovascular disease. And we also will do some collaborative research projects in the US, and we think we can have strategic relationship with some scientists. I spoke with Dr. Bond already, and he's willing to partner with us and allow us to use his research lab and to get some research done. So we will try to have such a partnership with some scientists here, some university here, and also with some university overseas. And I know I have some relationship overseas that we can use to that purpose. Okay, next. So this is our organizational chart. This is how ACIC is set up. So we have our board of trustees, and we have, today we have 4 members of the board. Dr. Coleman, who is another member, is not able to make it today. He just had a surgery, and he is still in pain. So we don't have him today. We have Dr. Singh and Dr. Brown and Dr. Haddad, who have graciously accepted to be member of this board. And we will have the president and CEO, who will be executing all the decision. And we have 2 teams that will be implementing the activities. The first team will be the executive team, which will execute all the decision. We have an executive secretary, and we have a director of public relations and marketing, which is very important if we want to get known and expose ourselves and get funding. So we have a director of international affairs, because we, as you know, we want to be abroad, and we have a treasurer. Now, the second team is the scientific team, which include a program director for basic science cardiovascular research, and we have a clinical research program director, and we hope to have also a public health program that will focus on cardiovascular disease. Dr. Haddad had accepted to take this, in addition to being a member of the board. I hope he still is okay with that, and we still have, opening for these two position, and anybody who knows any cardiovascular scientist who is interested in doing working with us is welcome to make some suggestion. So, executive secretary, we have Ms. Tonya Freeman, who will be working that position, and she's here now, and thank you. Public relations, marketing, Gloria Oke, whom everybody knows, everybody have been receiving email from, will be there. I will be occupying this position until we get somebody who can do that. And we have a treasurer, Mr. Basejo Kamagate, who is well experienced in running non-profits, and he agreed to take that challenge. Next. So, vision for the future. Okay, we have some long-term vision. One will be, as I said at the beginning, to develop a multinational network of collaborative research, and with different scientists overseas. Yes, long-term, I put here ACIC Graduate School, which is a very big challenge, I know, but I also know that there are some think tanks that have some small graduate program, and we think that we can do that, maybe in some years. And what we have in mind is probably recruiting some master level graduate students who only need to do some research, and then they will be trained, and we will graduate some PhD. So that is a very long term and ambition. Okay, and yes, developing patents. We hope we will get to the level where we will be able to develop some patents and have them approved, And like any other research organization, being able to show that we can invent things or we have some good ideas. So that's what we have, and we are starting today. Okay, thank you. Next, we will ask some member of the board to give a word and to give us some of their impression and what they think about the whole enterprise.
I'm gonna jump. I can't wait. Thank you, Dr. Oki.
Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ricardo Brown. It is an honor to be invited to be a part of the ACIC board. I just want to give a few remarks to talk about my own history. As a biology graduate, I thought I wanted to go to medical school. And if I went to medical school, I wanted to be a cardiologist or a vascular surgeon. But then as I got closer to graduating, I wasn't sure. And I took a year out after graduating from college, and I worked for a cardiologist in Miami. And what I saw was amazing, the number of people that were in and out of his service. He did diagnosis, cardiac catheterization to determine the extent and level of coronary occlusion. And I said, that's it, I want to be a researcher. I don't want to be a medical doctor. And so I went through that pathway. Ironically, I went to Howard, got my PhD in physiology, biophysics. I'm a cardiovascular physiologist, as was mentioned. My area of expertise is electrophysiology. And it just so happened that Dr. Oki trained in the same lab and had the same mentor that I did several years prior. Okay? And so I too knew in the late 70s and the early 80s that cardiovascular disease was the #1 killer of all Americans. Still is. Okay, and so that I think is a tremendous opportunity for a think tank like this to define its own agenda rather than to have the agenda defined by others. Okay, and so when we look at PAs and RFAs and RFPs that come out of NIH, that's really tailored to where they're going. All right, and so we have an opportunity to shape, really, as it relates, as he mentioned, to African Americans and people of color, what is our agenda and where do we see the opportunities? One of the largest, as you all know, studies of heart disease is the Framingham study, right? The Framingham study. But that study, the cohort is mostly what? White. Right? And we know over time, and as we've learned, there's a genetic sort of predisposition to certain diseases. Okay? And as a result of that, NHLBI, fast forward, recognized that, and they started the Jackson Heart Study. So I'm the dean of the College of Public Service at Jackson State University. I commute back and forth. I still have my home here in Washington. We have programs in public health, but we have 2 of the Jackson Heart Study grants in our college. Okay? The Jackson Heart Study has been funded 3 times. So that means it's been in existence for 15 years. Okay, and so now we're accumulating a lot of information about cardiovascular disease in minority populations. And so now we can say, okay, what did we learn from Framingham and what have we learned from Jackson Heart Study? And what's the difference? And the difference may be genetic. Okay, and so I think, again, here's an opportunity for us to take information that comes out of these 2 studies that we can compare and say, hey, this is the direction potentially that we might want to pursue. So we can focus on setting our own research and public health agenda. And I think that's a tremendous opportunity of a think tank like this. Dr. Oki, let me say one more thing about Dr. Oki. I met him over 15 years ago as a graduate student in a lab that I trained. And I was asked to be on his dissertation committee by several at Howard. I found him to be a very intelligent and studious and dedicated person. Things go around full circle. I hadn't seen Dr. Oki in maybe 14 years, okay, and I serve on the board of the United Medical Center, the only primary care hospital east of the Anacostia River. And what do we deal with? We deal with indigent care, okay, and UMC and Howard. So if you're on that side of the river, it'd be great if you had the services to go to UMC, right? But UMC didn't have a lot of primary care services. So as a board member, one day we're introduced to new physicians that joined the hospital. One of them was your own Dr. Oki, and he started the cardiology practice at the United Medical Center. So I think that the organization is in good hands. I see a lot of old friends and colleagues, and I'm anxious to get to know you more, Dr. Saini. And again, thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'll turn it over.
Thank you again for the opportunity to serve on this great and very promising organization. My name is George Haddad, and I've known Luke for, I would just say, more than 15 years. And I met him when I joined Howard University. He was a graduate student there doing his PhD, and because of the French connection, we started speaking French, and this started a long story of collaboration between Luke and myself. I saw Luke at the beginning as a very, very studious and very committed student. He would spend hours and hours. Once he put his mind on something, he needs to finish it, and he wants to finish it right. And he's an unstoppable force in a way, once he put his mind on something. So through the years, we collaborated on training programs, on education at Howard University. He came and taught for us, and he's still coming and give us some lectures here and there in the medical school and the graduate school, and he was all the time very well received. And anytime I would ask him, there was no second thought, let me think about it. He would say, of course, when? Just give me the date. And it was his commitment to diversity education, to minority education, is kind of unparalleled. And you can tell in his dedication to this program, or this organization, that he had that idea in mind long time ago, and we talked about it long time ago. But I think things has to come to fruition, and it's about the time now that it came. And I'm very, very happy to be part of it. And let me talk a little bit about myself, maybe quickly. I'm from Lebanon, from the Middle East, so another diversity figure. And where in the Middle East, we as other underrepresented minorities or diverse groups, we have a greater suffering from cardiovascular diseases. As Luke just said, everything gets to be known very late in the game. And actually my father got recently diagnosed, and he had the aortic valve disease replacement. And it was kind of almost too late, but we caught him at the last minute. But so my heart always goes to, because I come from a country, a developing country. When I moved to Canada, where I did my PhD at Sherbrooke University and did my postdoc at McGill, then came to Howard, I always had in mind, how can I give back? How can I improve the situation in my back home country? I started that at Sherbrooke University. I was a student, a PhD, like Luke started. I initiated a collaboration between the American University of Beirut, which is a very known university, and this is my alma mater there, and Sherbrooke University for student and faculty exchange, which was very well accepted by both universities, and we trained about more than 40 graduate students at that time. And I always look about this idea of collaboration, giving back to your home country, and not only giving back, like you just give back, you want to improve things. And I think this is the path that Luke is taking, and I'm more than happy to be serving on that, and I'll give my best to it. In terms of the future direction, I would leave it to the Board of Trustees to discuss, but I have a very good run with basic science. My lab has been dealing with research in cardiac hypertrophy, heart failure, and now we're dealing with alcoholism and alcohol effect on the heart. Hold on, good and bad, not only the bad effect. So, and of course, we know that there is a differential effect and differential predisposition in different minority groups, African American, Asian, Middle Eastern, East European that Luke is mentioning. We all have different genetic background that we carry with us, and our exposure to the environment could trigger to a different level different diseases, or and then make us more or less susceptible to these diseases. So I'll be more than glad to lead the basic science at this time, and according to the suggestion and discussion from the Board of Trustees, we decide where are the forces and niche that we should be looking for. Definitely it should be something that would relate to developing countries' issues, and this is one of our strengths in this organization. Again, thank you, Luke, for the invitation, and I'll be more than glad, and I will try to do my best to serve on this committee. Thank you.
How much time do I have? Okay, can you put up that mission slide for me, please? Thanks. So our mission really we need to focus on this a little bit, because this is what we're about. It's easy to talk about things. To execute is a different story, and I've been there too many times. So let's talk about that a little bit, because in my mind I'm not sure, and this is what we want to talk about. How do we make this happen? Now, even if we make it happen, what do we do with these graduates and the people we've mentored? They all end up staying in America. They don't go back home. So that's a problem. How are we going to help those in need? So all this have to be in the equation. What is our mission? I agree everything is in the genes and people are different, but we have to be very careful, because if we prove that a drug works in white, it's very difficult to give a placebo to people of other ethnic background, because the drug already worked in humans. So we can get into trouble with ethics issues. And I've been faced with that many times. So the question is, when we do research and we mentor these young scientists, and I think it was mentioned a couple of times by the previous speakers, we have to look at research that's not being done currently in this country, but beyond. And so we can be experts in any disease that affects Asians or Africans, not seen so much in this country. But to repeat heart failure studies is very difficult to omit current pharmacological and non-pharmacological therapies in these people who do research. Because defibrillators work, and ACE inhibitors work, and beta blockers work, and it's extremely difficult, even though they may not get it, the medication in certain countries. It is unethical to do research because you have to. And it happened with HIV, where people are not getting the drugs, and Pfizer wanted to give them placebo. You can't do that. That's unethical. And so, Luke, You have a task. You have to teach me here. What's our mission? What are we doing? Are we going to help the world? The bottom line is to go help people out there. Not us. It's not about us.
Right.
We know this stuff. It's about them. And so that's going to be tough. I'm not even talking about funding. I don't even know how he funded his breakfast here. And that's classy. That's very good. So you got a lot of charge, or we have a lot of charge. You're not asking for donations. You're not asking us to fund. But you're taking a giant step, and I applaud you for that, and everybody involved with this. If you pull this off, you deserve a Nobel Prize. There's no question. There is a need, and I support that. That's why we're here. And so I urge us to think very carefully of what are we getting into. I do not want to fail like you don't want to fail. So with that, I will shut up and walk. I have a million questions for him, but I'm waiting for the right opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
So, okay, so we will continue, and we will move forward and try to elect the chairman of the board, who will be running the next meeting, and along the way we will have an opportunity to answer all the questions. But what I noticed when I go abroad is that yes, we have all this research done here, and we have all these guidelines, and we have all this knowledge that are here. And before they get out of here, it takes some years. So those information, those knowledge that are here, take some years before it even get to Europe. And they start applying those guidelines, or using, or doing, using all this technology or medical approach that we are using here. And from Europe, before you get to Africa or other developing countries, it takes another 10 years. So we will try to work to shorten that time frame, and try to connect with those scientists who are as smart as us here. They just don't have access to the knowledge or to the technology. So we want to try to bridge that gap and get to them and share with them what we learn. And if we are starting collaborating research project, I'm sure we will be very ethical, and we will start from what we already have, what we already know, and try to see what's their population, their experience or their environment can add to what is already known. So I thought about all these ethical problems, and I'm sure we will be able to have some positive impact on those population, and while not using them as a training ground or anything like that. So that's just what I want to say. So I want to move to nominate Dr. Stephen Singh as the chairman of the board. And,
I'd second that.
Okay.
He has an opportunity to, but I was going to be my nomination as well. I did want to say something about what Dr. Singh said, and I really appreciate the ethical consideration. What's been unethical is the lack of involvement of people of color in clinical trials. That's right. Okay? And the outcome of the research really has to do with one population. And that's unethical, in my opinion. If you go to the Tuskegee experiment, that's why we're here, right? So, but let me say that is a very important consideration. We don't want to be seen as an organization that would promote that. But again, I want to talk about just mention two things I think that we could look at that are opportunities. One is pharmacogenomics and pharmacokinetics. And so when we look at data, you take a bunch of data and then you can have a mean value. But then there's variance about that mean, right? And that says that some people closer to the mean are responders, and people further away from the mean are not. What's happening there? And so I think there's a way for us to do both.
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, Dr. Ibe want to say a word?
Yeah, I'm sorry to come, but Dr. Ibe here, I'm the immediate past president of MedCai of DC, which is the global organization connecting all black physicians in the area. So this is of interest to us. I'm also from Nigeria, so this is of interest. But I want to say something, the question you raised, Dr. Singh, which is very good. But I want to bring something historically here. I trained in obstetrics and gynecology. I'm a fellow of the Royal College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists, and then I'm also a family physician. So I did both. Why I'm saying this, initially I started working with Depo-Provera years ago. So when I was working with Depo-Provera in Nigeria, I had no idea that it has never even been used here, because it was being given to us by Upjohn, free of charge. You know, we were using it on the women, so we were excited that this was free. And I went to England. It was not even approved. The only approval for England then was the first 3 months after delivery, if you are rhesus negative, you know, to allow women not to get pregnant before on that kind of thing. Before I came to the United States, and somebody was now teaching me about Depo-Provera. You see, so I'm therefore looking, that's an opportunity here to say, any research that's going to happen here, this organization can become an arm to recruit, you know, Africans, other minorities, other groups in Africa simultaneously as this research is going on here. You know, so at the end of the day, you have answers right away. You know, did it work in mainly homogeneous black population, or it didn't work compared to African Americans and compared to Caucasians? So you can have 3 answers right there simultaneously if we do it right. So that's what I wanted to contribute. There have been research already done in Africans. They didn't know that they were being tested, you know, before these drugs got approved here. That's one of my experience, but I'm happy to see other things later. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank all my guests, member of the board, and member of the executive team. And I am very happy of what we have accomplished today. It's a big challenge, but I think it will be done. Thank you. All right.